shocking at the same time. Thank you. So, I wanted to, as part of my welcome, just note what a crazy busy time it is, but also to kind of spin that as like, thank you and congratulations. Because this board, this PTA has really accomplished a ton this year. I mean, just this week alone, we've got teacher appreciation, we've got spring fling, we've got Board of Education events, we've got elections, we've got so much going on. It's a lot, it's exciting, and I really want to thank everybody. We're gonna have our elections today, so I guess I'll be a lame duck president by the end of this meeting, which is fine with me. But I wanted to just note that it's been, when I started as president 2 years ago, we were climbing out of COVID. I mean, we weren't even in the classroom yet. I mean, it was just such a different world in terms of participation and volunteering and events and everything. And so it's just been really exciting to watch this group come together. So thank you. And I hope everyone feels proud of that. I also want to quickly acknowledge our vice principal, who is not going to be with us next year, but congratulations.
Thank you.
So thank you for being with us this year, and we're excited for you and, changes afoot.
Thank you.
Thanks for having that. So the first item on the agenda is actually to elect our executive committee for next year. So as a quick reminder, the way that this works is that we have 4 elected positions: president, vice president, treasurer, and secretary. And then we have a whole cadre of people who sit in various board positions, many of you being people here. It takes all of us to accomplish this, all of our work. But per our bylaws, we only have to elect 4 people. And a couple of people in person and online were part of our nominating committee. So I'm going to ask you guys to introduce our slate. We are then going to have an official membership vote where I'll basically be asking for any objections. And we will also have an opportunity, if there's anybody on who feels like they wanted to self-nominate, but not have an opportunity, this would be your chance to do so. So let me turn it over to Jessica to go ahead and introduce our slate. Jessica, are you there?
So I can pull together just kind of the various places. So
Okay.
give me a moment if you want to
Okay.
do that just so you can come on.
Sure. So while we wait for that, I will quickly go ahead to item C on the agenda for those of you who have the agenda. As I noted, we have these 4 elected positions, and then we have the board. Following this meeting, not like immediately, but like probably next week, I will be circulating to everybody, the whole 800 people on our email list, a sign-up genius that lists and has a brief description of all of the board positions. And our board is pretty big and has a large diversity of types of positions in terms of some are advocacy, some are fundraising, some are events, some are, being a representative for our cluster, those types of things. So I would encourage you to take a look at this. Sign up. There are brief descriptions about what each role is. If you have other questions or wanted to ask more. Oh my goodness.
That was a strong entrance, dude.
I do. I'm real.
I love it.
That was the strongest entrance I've ever experienced at a PTA meeting. Well done.
So quickly, just finishing up, then we'll turn it over to you. So I encourage you to take a look at the board positions, consider taking one. And as I said earlier at the board meeting at 6:30, it's also a great opportunity to talk with other parents who might be interested in taking a role that might be, not completely overwhelming, like president or something. So I'm going to turn it back to Namcha to do the introduction of the candidates.
All right. Well, hello, everyone. My apologies for being tardy. I was doing dinner.
Yeah.
But I was on the call nonetheless. Hello. So we have a full slate tonight. Very excited bittersweet and excited, right? We have the amazing outgoing slate. Is it a slate or is it actually the board? So an outgoing board. And I think really excited for the people that are about to come on board. Hopefully. So should we start with maybe the treasurer position because we have multiple roles slate there? Okay. So first on the docket We have Colby Provost, last name correctly. He is seeking a role as the main treasurer for the 2024-2026 slate, or 2023-2025. I'll actually know the years.
So we do elections annually, but there's a 2-year term limit. So it is, these people, I should, yeah, everybody we're voting for tonight will be elected for 1 year.
Okay,
They will be eligible to continue in that role for another year, but there will be another election. But we are term limited for 2 consecutive years,
understood.
which is why some of us are voting.
Got it. Perfect. Thank you so much for that information. And for those of you at home, I hope you enjoyed that. Okay, so currently Colby, his son is in the 5th grade. He has a daughter in the 3rd grade. And he is very interested, as he has been a part of the Randolph Hills Civic Association treasurer role for many a year, in fact, for 10 years. I mean, he knows what he's doing. In the last 6, he has been the treasurer. So his 2nd, 3rd year term as treasurer, he was relocated, ended just this past year, and he is very much an advocate for public service and a believer in education. And so those 2 things fuse beautifully in the PTA. So he is on board for being our new treasurer. I'll move to our 2nd slate, although I don't want to speak for the person because she's on the call. And so, Stella, are you still there? I see you, yes, in the top right corner here. Hi. So Stella, can you go and introduce yourself, please, and then tell us, Stella is going to be on the role for budgeter, which is the 2nd tier role in the treasurer position. It's a trifecta, if you will, of people who are going to make it really hot for next year. So, Stella, would like to introduce yourself. Please tell us all about you, or why you're great for this role, because I think you're great for the role.
Thank you. So hi, everyone. My name is Sel Hardy. I have a daughter in 3rd grade in the immersion program. This is our 1st year in Maryvale, and it's been going really well. We love it. So I'm coming from 15 years in finance. I'm currently a financial analyst. I've been doing this for 15 years, working on budgets and forecasts on a daily basis. So I thought this could be kind of a natural role for me, and I'm happy to help.
That's perfect.
Happy to answer.
Perfect. So good. Thank you so much, Sal. Appreciate that. And then our 3rd position for the treasurer role is the bookkeeping role, and that would be our current treasurer, Acacia. Hi, Acacia. Did you want to speak to the fact that you would be an amazing bookkeeper and why? Perhaps because you're currently in the role.
So I'm currently driving. Sorry.
Then let's not do that. Let's be
I will
safe.
speak for you.
Yeah.
I will speak for
We're
you.
gonna the proxy. Hold fast, friend.
So, Acacia has been the treasurer really kind of for 4 years and has been amazing. Lots of props to Acacia, but she rightly pointed out that the treasurer role is really, really hard. And I think as the outgoing president, I can say that it's harder than president. So Acacia was the one who had this brilliant idea of dividing it into 3 positions. So we will be voting officially for Colby to have the title. He has the elected position, or will have the elected position. And then, as you heard, we're gonna have Sel do the budgets, which is at least 2, maybe 3 budgets, depending on how you want to do it. And meet with the committee chairs and kind of figure out what we're gonna need for the budget, adjust the budget, present the budget, those types of things. And then Acacia will be the bookkeeper, which is writing checks, checking the bank account, balancing the bank account, and kind of like being the transaction person. So that collectively, you know, it doesn't fall so hard on any one person.
That's right. And honestly, it's very exciting to be able to split it this way, to your point, so that no one feels overworked and overbought, or lessening the burden in some ways, but they can kind of make it work for them regarding meetings and the ownership of duties, right? Great, fantastic. So that's our treasurer slate. Let's move up to our secretary slate. So Doug Early currently has a kindergartner in this glorious school. He is currently in Morocco. I mean, priorities, right? So I think he has been attending most of the meetings.
Yeah.
We're very familiar with him. I do want to say, I think his enthusiasm, his excitement, his overall like writing is gonna be great. So I'm on board with him being secretary. We'll hear more when he comes back to Morocco. Great, thank you. And then for vice president, so we have Lydia Moreno, who is a fabulous woman. She is in the neighborhood here in Burgundy Knolls, so she's right outside of the school. I think what's really exciting about Lydia is that she's going to bring a different element to the board. She's very much involved in the community. I think the importance of having many different facets of our community shown on the board is going to be important. I think she does that really well, and she's going to bring just a different lens, help us become a little more inclusive in how we're engaging with the community, and then really ensure that we are meeting the needs of all the parents that are here at this wonderful establishment in Maryvale.
Lydia
So
has 3 children.
Lydia has 3 children. Thanks so much. She is the mom.
That's fine.
Vice president, that's right.
And Doug is currently the secretary.
Yeah, correct. So
Perfect.
he's going to continue that.
That'll
Thank
be
you.
his second year, yeah.
That's right.
Okay.
Thanks for clarifying. What more, Lydia?
That's good.
I mean, I think just to know, I mean, Lydia's Spanish speaking and has a large connection
Yes.
within the Spanish speaking community, which I think is an area that we have sorely been lacking, and I'm looking forward to having that perspective and that relationship and that, you know, ability for us to do more outreach. So,
Thank you.
yeah, no, I
Yes.
think we can, I think it's, you know,
Helpful.
we acknowledge that there are
Perfect.
areas we need to grow in, and I think outreach to this, to the Spanish speaking community is one of them. It's great to have Lydia on board.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Perfect. And then for president, it's our current, communication. Okay, I knew that. So Megan, Obrist is Oliveira, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Oliveira, that's stating, I'm really big on names. Megan Oliveira. We work so closely together, devastating. Co-broom parent, so I know that she is fully vested in what we do here. Very much, always a can-do attitude, really wants to be a part of whatever's happening to make sure that the world of Maryvale is solid and sound, and excited to have her be on the nomination slate for president. Megan, would you like to say anything?
Very excited. So I currently have a 3rd grader and kindergartner in the enrichment program. So I'm excited to be more involved in that offer.
Excellent, thank you. And I think that's our slate.
That is wonderful. Thank you so much, nominating committee.
That
That
is
is wonderful. So I'm gonna pause and see if there's anybody present who would like to either nominate themselves or nominate somebody who is not just presented on the slate. All right. So at this point, I am going to go down each position and ask for a verbal vote, you know, ayes and nays. And we'll have a new executive committee. So for the role of president, representing Megan Oliveira. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? All right, congratulations, Megan. For the role of vice president, Lydia Moreno, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, any nays? All right. Yay. In the role of secretary, we're gonna have Doug Early. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, yay, Doug. And then for treasurer again, we are only going to be voting specifically on Colby. So, all those in favor of Colby Prevost
Aye.
as, treasurer, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone
Aye.
opposed? All right, congratulations to the committee. And just so everyone knows, the official transition is July 1st. So actually at the next June meeting, I'll still be presiding over the meeting, but that gives us like a month and a half to train people, transition. You know, turn over bank accounts, like those types of things, email addresses, etc. I think this is obvious, you guys probably know this, but like when we transition and you email president, it's gonna go to her. And I'll handle it. Yeah. Right.
So I'll make all right.
Exactly. So thank you again to our nominating committee.
Are
And
there
then,
fireworks in the budget?
Yes.
For what's happening?
yeah, I was expecting you to do cartwheels. All right, and be on the lookout for the additional board positions. All right, so next, we're turning it over to the principal with the principal's update and also some discussion. at the end. Sorry.
So first I want to say thank you to everybody that spends and dedicates so much of their time and love and energy to making this such a great place to learn and grow. It really does take a village. I am humbled by all that you do and are willing to do. Thank you for making this week so wonderful for staff. It's so nice. They do appreciate it. It's like, I don't know, the only thing I can liken it to is when your own child gets up and it's their birthday and they know their party's coming. It's like when they come in this week, it is like that versus another typical week. And that's because of you, and I thank you that the notes are adorable. I see them on there. I have two on my wall. The secretaries having they're not just put aside, they mean something. So I thank you for all of that. We do have a couple of things that I'm just gonna mention. Our summer school program is well underway. Initially, we were given, it's cut back because of the budgeting and within Montgomery County, which we talked about before. We were initially given 7 teachers for English. That doesn't just invite the Maryvale children, but also the children from Rock Creek Valley and Meadow. But we didn't get teachers for the French. We advocated for that. They immediately said, okay. So we got an additional 3 teachers so that we can offer some for our French immersion students that would benefit from some reteaching and relearning over the summer. We can have that up and so we're getting it going. Letters are going out. We're calling parents. So we're really excited about that. Miss Grunmeyer is the one that sort of was our lead teacher for that, as she's a current first grade teacher. She does a great job with it. She makes it fun.
Does she need any money? We gave her some budget last year.
I think
We're gonna need to know in the next month.
yeah, she does like Friday Popsicle Day. There's like different theme days. So I'll tell her to reach
We
out.
can give her some, we just need the budget. for
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Okay, so, but we're really excited to be able to offer that to all of our students. We do have the instrumental music concert coming up. Our instrumental music teacher is just amazing. He is like, I need to recruit now for our soon to be. So he's gonna do the 4th and 5th grade current instrumental music. He's gonna do a day concert for our soon to be instrument players to try and get it into. But they'll be doing a day concert then, and then we'll have the evening concert. He's very excited about it already. He said everybody's gonna be impressed. I'm impressed every day, so by what our children can do. We have field day on May 31st. This is, when I started at Maryvale 7 years ago, we didn't have it, but it has come back with Mr. Hendershot, and he gets the whole staff riled up. He has sign-ups for it. We're good to go. The kids, we'll tell you ahead of time, they get wet that day, usually gonna scrape it with a hose, and it's the highlight of the day. So we're excited about that. The rain day will be on 7, but we tried to do a little earlier this year because of the heat. So hopefully that's gonna work in our favor. The immersion lottery for incoming kindergarten students was just selected and the letters went home. So we're getting daily calls for new tours and giving it. Mount Riley's doing a tour on Thursday at 3. And then we have kindergarten orientation coming up. So this is all, well, we're wrapping up this year. We're already full swing with Mr. J included planning for next year. So we are really busy. We are going to take some time now to review some work that the whole county has taken on. And our staff has really been doing a lot of hard work and learning the past couple of years. And I want to share some of what we've done and what the county has done. A few years back, they hired an independent company to come in to do an anti-racist audit. So how are our schools, our processes, our practices, how are we ensuring that we truly are an equitable school, meaning everybody gets what they need, not everybody gets equal? And so they came and they surveyed as part of the audit. They had 3 groups to survey. Parents were surveyed of the community. Staff was surveyed at the school, and then our 4th and 5th grade students were surveyed. Now, currently, we don't have those same 4th and 5th grade students, but unless your school has done a transformation, the information we gained is likely similar. So this information, the audit results came out this school year. And we have been taking time, first they trained principals, administrators to really say, what are we gonna do with this information? How do we work to transform schools to make sure that we are all working towards being anti-racist? We all have biases, we all have implicit bias, but how do we disrupt that and become a school that says, okay, this is how it was and this is not how it has to be. So we were trained and then we worked with our school instructional leadership team and staff as well, to really unpack that data. Do you want to go to the next one? So it's up that these are sort of the and not sort of, these are the definitions of what it means to be an anti-racist. Thank you. And it's up there, I'm not gonna read it to you. You can read it yourself, but I think the important thing is there is a lot of definitions that go around in this world of becoming an anti-racist. And what we and Montgomery County have adapted is the definition that being an anti-racist means actively working to ensure racial justice by identifying, interrupting, and dismantling racist practices, policies, and attitudes that disproportionately harm communities of color. And that, what that looks like then, being anti-racist means demonstrating an everyday commitment to be reflective of our practices. Our staff is working on that now. It even goes as far as to say, if I hear something in that it's not quite sounding right, what is the language I use is a way to inform and teach others about their thoughts and processes. So we as a staff has focused on this for really several years now, but we've not yet shared with the community that work, and that's what we want to do with you. Understanding how the prioritization of dominant culture contributes to racial inequities. Just because we've done something for years and years and years does not mean it's right. It doesn't mean it's just, it doesn't mean it serves all our students. Identifying the racial inequities in our context and collaborate with others to make sure we are putting something in place that is truly equitable for all. And disrupting and eliminating racial policies, practices, and procedures, as well as proactively developing new practices and policies. Okay. You can go to the next one. So what is it? The audit is about fact finding. It's not about blaming. We're going to show you our data, some of it we're very proud of and some we are not. It is who we are, and to hide and pretend it doesn't exist is an injustice, because that means we don't do anything about it. So what we do know is that we have to work as a community to be courageous and strong and brave and work together and collaborate to make sure we truly are working towards being anti-racist in our school community and our outside community. It's important, step one, it's important because there are differences in how students, staff, and family members experience school culture based on race and ethnicity. For many, the analysis revealed some statistically lower proportion of agreement among our families of color. There is a whole website on Montgomery County Public Schools that is dedicated to the work that schools are doing and MCPS is doing as a whole. But we're tonight just going to share where we stand as a school and what our next steps need to be. But this, we are going to post on our school website along with our data so that it is transparent and open. Thank you. So I talked about the survey, parents were surveyed, staff was surveyed, and our 4th and 5th grade students were surveyed. What we have spent time unpacking this year is the student survey, because that's who we serve every day. And what they say in it can guide and facilitate at work. It doesn't mean what parents say or feel is not important or our staff, but you'll see it's quite lofty. And you do it and do it well and examine why students believe this or feel this way. Takes a lot of time and commitment from staff. And we have really taken the time, really since it came out, each time we meet as a staff to go a little deeper in. There were 17 questions on the survey students were given. It was an online survey. Section 1 was about attitudes about school and culture here at Maryvale. The second was learning about race. And the third section was climate and safety. So instead of taking the time to really go into all 17 questions, it would take so long. These will all be given and posted on our school website. It is not to be hidden. But we really felt like we wanted to highlight where we stood out in terms of here's some of the strengths that our children identified about us and our school culture. And here are some areas for growth for us. And Dershan has really delved in with staff and his and created a lot of important data slides. So he's going to present this next part.
Yeah. This whole process has gotten the county to develop a way for all of us to analyze data the same way. And that's a really big shift because in the past, schools had their own unique way of analyzing student performance data, student voice data. And like ORID is an example of one. And the county felt strongly that as we're looking at data across the board, that our analysis needs to be the same across the board. So the way in which we discuss it, the way we look at it, the way we process it, that needs to be common in elementary, middle, high, and all the regions of Montgomery County. And to give you an idea, it's a process that's got elements of what we've done in the past, but it also has some pieces that are very different. The first step in the data analysis is to just make predictions. So one of the things that we did before we even saw the results was we predicted what our students would have said, and we disaggregate that by race as well. Once you finish your predictions and you look at the results, you come across a couple of ahas. And then within that process alone, there's some unconscious bias that's sometimes exposed, right? Because you might lean to a certain student population that might think of something unfavorably when in fact it's the exact opposite. And so it leads you to think, why did I think that way? The data came to us very raw. It wasn't as visual as some of the data that we get to look at on a regular basis. We use a platform called Unify that the county has paid for, and they take all of our MAP data, our MCAP data, our district assessments, and they house it and allows us to come up with all different types of graphs and for all different types of ways of disaggregating it by gender, by special education services, by grade level, by teacher, you name it. And that's something that MAEC, which is the company that we work with, Mid-Atlantic Equity Consortium, they've been around since 1992, and I don't know if they're funded by the Department of Education as well. But they're working with MCPS to come up with a way for us to be able to see it a little differently. But I mention that because the second step in our data analysis is to present it visually. And that's what I did. You know, I spent some time in Excel. It wasn't too difficult, but you know, what was the best way to show it to individuals who, and I'm not talking about just parents, but some of our staff, they're not used to looking at data like this on a regular basis. So how can you make it so that it's attainable, it's understandable, and it can get us to think about some of the work that we need to do? Then we start making inferences about the data, objective statements about the data. Then we get into root cause, and then we come up with what we call our data story. And this is a process we started back in the winter. One of the reasons why Ms. Print has asked me to kind of focus on the data piece is because this is really what I worked on while she was at Goshen Elementary and I was over here with Mr. Bensel. And, you know, what we wanted to do was just focus on a few of the pieces, but we'll be completely transparent with you and let you know that the data will be on our website. There's a letter we're going to send out to you to let you know how you can find it. There are 3 different sections, like we just said, and there are 6 different domains. And the MAEC their conclusion was that we have to do work in all 6 domains, and there were some 25 or 26 action items on our part as a result of their findings. So here was something that we were, I don't know if you guys can read it. I think I might be able to move this down. I'm not sure. Here was something that we were proud of, and you can see it's disaggregated by race down at the bottom. But our 4th and 5th grade students from last year, and the bar graphs represent the percentage of students who agreed or strongly agreed. Okay. I'm friends with people of different races, colors, ethnicities, and cultures at school. And across the board, you can see that that's very high. And I purposefully chose this one and the next one because we were also higher than the county average as well. At the middle school level, especially, is when you start to see, I call it unconscious segregation. You see it in the cafeteria mostly. I worked at Hoover for 11 years, and you could, and middle school is also where you have free seating in cafeteria. You don't have free seating at the elementary level. You have to sit with your classes. And you can see Asian students sitting next to one another, and it just happens organically. But it's an interesting phenomenon that, I don't know, when your kiddos get to middle school, if you ever get a chance to go and see, you'll notice it yourself. But here, the percentages were pretty high, and that was something that we were very proud of, because we take a lot of pride in this idea of inclusivity, and knowing that we have a French program and a CAP program and pre-K and Head Start. It's something that's part of Miss Prin's vision, and her mission is to make everyone feel as though they belong at Maryvale, staff, students, community. I am proud of what I learned in school was also another question or another statement where our students were very positive. So strongly agree, and across the board, there wasn't much variance from group to group. Now we start to look at some of the areas that we need to focus on. And what we do is we're great engaging in this activity with our instructional leadership team. The process that I described to you, where you visualize it, you make objective statements, you make inferences, then you do the root cause and so on. So we're doing that with our team right now. And our staff development teachers, she's taken all 17 questions, and she's chunked it into those 3 sections. And we're still working on it as a team, because all of that work is going to lead to what we need to do this summer and to planning for next year. So if you take a look at this one, it says, I'm comfortable asking my teachers questions about my schoolwork. Just take a look at that. What are you thinking? What are some thoughts that come to your mind? Or what is something that you notice that stands out to you? There's no right answer here. I'm just curious what you think. Okay. Variation.
The group that feels the most comfortable asking questions, and they're generally the highest performing.
Okay. Those are the starting points to conversations, right? Another way of, yeah.
Was the question phrased this way?
Yeah.
So I guess my question is, how well did the children interpret the question?
That's always a variable,
Sure.
right?
Sure, but if they're not understanding it, when I don't understand the word, right? If we're not specifically asking that,
Mhm.
what are they thinking their response is? And you're right, there's always the variability factor, sure,
Right.
it's used data all the time.
Mhm.
But in this question, as I read it, I am comfortable asking my teacher questions about my schoolwork, what question?
Another pondering that we have about the structure of the question is, well, which teacher?
Sure.
Right? Are you
Sure.
talking about my specials teacher, right? But regardless, there's enough there for us to say, in some cases, almost 5 out of 10 students, 4 out of 10 students don't feel comfortable asking any one of their teachers. And the sample size between with the 4th and 5th grade is large enough where if you have the occasional student who here and there may not understand the question, I don't think that this would be that far off. Because it's also very much in line with overall the county's responses. School to school, this was an area of focus.
So in doing this with that, I would just say your
Mhm.
questions are exactly.
Yeah.
your stuff. How can that be, right?
Mhm.
Like that's my whole day is trying to answer questions. So, was it the way the question was asked? Is it something I did? Where's my data? I was.
Yeah.
So, that's initially a very natural thing, but then we have to really start going deeper and saying, well, what is it? What are those practices?
Mhm.
Why? 'Cause however you ask that question, when you get a result like that, it means further question, and we need to get more
Yeah.
information. So that's, but it's interesting as a parent to see that, because it was very similar to, responses from our staff as well.
And former educator.
Yeah, well, that's.
Or you're more than an educator. But the root cause analysis, when you get to that point, would look like this, because you do the 5 whys. Well, why is the data like this? Well, are we are we being very intentional about providing teachers feedback in how they call on students? How are teachers calling on students? How are teachers building relationships with students? How are teachers building relationships with their community? So this is the way in which you allow this data to lead to some type of action.
This survey was done last year.
Yeah.
Right, so my other question is, this was the math requirement time that all could have indicated the questions and the responses from students, that they were wearing masks in front of their teachers, and their teachers were also wearing masks, and that limited communication
Mhm.
for fear-based answers potentially.
Here was another one. Let me put this down. I feel like I belong at school.
The no race specified on the survey when our 4th and 5th grade students took it. There was one question to identify race, and some students did not feel comfortable identifying, so that's no race specified, so that second to last column over is what that.
And I think parents also had that option. Guardians had that option last year as well. Again, we would engage in that root cause analysis, that the data analysis process. We would first begin by looking at the statement, I feel like I belong at school. Then we would predict what do we think our students would have said overall subgroup. And then start to ask the why, make inferences and objective statements. But this was another area that the instructional leadership team is really focusing on.
And can I ask
Mhm.
the percentage of students in each category?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, the demographics here, so it would be different if you looked at it by program,
Mhm.
by CAP program, pre-K program, but just in general, the demographics of the school, about 33% Hispanic Latino, about 27% African American Black, about 25% other Caucasian, about 10%, around 10%, Asian, and also around 10% of students more than one race. That, now it- Thank you. Mhm.
Did they give you enough detail to disaggregate by program?
No.
You have to do all that for your own
Uh,
sort of root cause analysis.
They would have to, MAEC would have to go back and see how they collected the data. But that was one, that was one piece that we were hoping to get, because then in order to be able to do it by program, we have to be able to do it by teacher. And we can narrow it down with our current platform, but if they didn't store it or house it a certain way, it's going to be just 4th and 5th grade. And you're right. I just mentioned that, and we do as well. In fact, if it was less than 10, it said the data would show itself as N less than or equal to 10. Because if it's that low, then you might even be able to figure out who the student was. So, yeah. Needless to say, we don't want any student to feel this way. And if you look at our Hispanic population, Latino Hispanic is 65. That's our highest population, and they feel the least connected to our school. And that's where, I love the title of WhatsApp Espanol, in Espanol, and other pieces that we were figuring out ways. It's on our conscious now. It's our work. The Parents for Equity and Excellence Committee. This is our work, because we have to do something about this. And then finally, my teacher makes me feel capable and successful. When we put it in a simple bar graph like this, just by looking at it, you can see the difference. And one of the pieces we do look at, like, is there any variance, or is it steady? And so, like, the reason why these data pieces were selected, it's not just because they were the ones that we need to work on. It's, you can see that across the board consistently, it's not too much variance from one group to the other. The percentages might be a little bit different, but when we talk about percentages and numbers, 1 or 2 in one category could be a significantly higher percentage than another one. So we always factor that in as well. So.
What are the next steps for us in this plan? Because as you saw, there's certainly areas that the children will live on in school, but as Thursday said, if one child does not feel like they belong, work needs to be done. And so what do we do with this information? So we, as he said, we are continuing to dive in, but there is already things in place. So where we're going with this is we will analyze the parent responses at the same level and depth that we're doing students with our instructional leadership team. We will also be looking at staff responses after that. We do have a committee that's being formed, and it's already met once, to engage the Parents for Equity and Excellence Committee, so that we can start working together to look deeper into this and figure out how we can collaborate to make change. The questions about the survey that you had, like, well, how do you know which teacher, and do you know from this survey, when I was gone, actually, Dershan and this instructional leadership team, because you can't just sit on that, we need to know more information. They developed our own survey that was given around the same topics, where students did not feel comfortable asking questions, did not feel like they belong. There was a survey that was developed that was given to all students. And that was, we can look at more by actual student to hear what their voice is. That survey data was given, and it was given in a way that now when we look at our child's academic progress, like, where are they on the map, right? We always talk about those computer tests, or the classroom assessments, or their grades. That's all in good. That's where they're performing or showing at that moment of time for that particular assessment. But what's really nice about what we are doing now is pairing, what's the student experience at school? Right? Because if I don't view school as a positive experience, there's a good likelihood I'm not showing myself academically as high as I can be. So we have started as a staff to pair that together. And when we reflect on data, we do both. Okay, if they're here not meeting these targets, what's their school experience like? How do they see it? And what can we do there? So that has already been a change that we've done. Our staff has done a lot of professional development. We're doing Speak Up at School. You can Google it online. Many schools in the county have adapted it. First, we started to train just our instructional leadership team on speaking up at school, and now we train them. They're now doing staff trainings, training the whole staff. Once the staff is trained, we're going to bring it to students. But we've started with what are some things that language at school that we are not going to tolerate. We're not going to tolerate. So an example of that is we got together and teachers say, well, that student is low, right? They've not met the benchmark, they're low. We do not use that term anymore. If we use it, we speak up. We'll say not yet, right? They're not yet made it. But the goal is, the change in the mindset is they will get there, they're just not yet there. So there are terms that we will not, we will not let ourselves say. And then staff say, and then we're going to bring the same to students eventually. This year, we're focusing on staff. But that is a great resource. You can Google it and get more information. A lot of our trainings this year are focused around that. The other thing is we are doing specific professional development for our staff around disrupting practices and policies that don't support our anti-racist work. And that involves looking at characteristics, not only of Maryvale, but the county characteristics. And how do we disrupt that? How do we work along with central office to disrupt practices that are not really equitable for all? So that's the work there. So our work, what I wanted to be mindful of, this data is important. It is driving our decisions in terms of staff, articulation. We're constantly on the mindset of how do we improve the experience for our children so that everybody is welcomed, included, and gets the support they need to achieve and feel successful. So, well, it's not all pretty, it is what it is, and it's exciting to know that we actually can do something about it. If we work together and our staff is fully committed, if we work together, we can change it. So we're excited about the possibilities ahead. Next steps will be, as Dershan shared with you, there'll be a community letter we will be sending out to staff and families. This will be posted on our school website, but it is something we will keep coming back to because it's important. Are there any questions that anybody has about our work or about the data?
Thank you, and as a plug for, again, we are looking for somebody to fill the role of a chair of the Parents for Equity and Excellence role. So if this is really interesting to you and you think you want to dig in deeper, we would love to have you involved in that. I mean, a chair, yeah, but also the committee members as we build that up. So thank you. Very interesting data for sure. Any other questions? Great. So I'm going to move on to Raya. Do you have an update?
The Black and Brown Coalition did not meet on May 4th. I don't have that update. But on April 27th, presented after midnight, gave her webinar about racism and the rise of hate in the district. So I hope everyone got to see. It was really good. I think like a 2-second summary, just a little teaser. But she did a really good job of sort of presenting the context of the district. How the district was created for basically all white students. And beginning really in the 80s, the demographics really began to change dramatically with immigration and integration. So the challenges now that the district is facing and schools like Maryville are facing are problems that can't be solved overnight by Dr. McKnight. But it really does take everybody, because the district wasn't created to meet the needs of everybody. So now we all have to really go back and rethink all of the systems, all of our thoughts, all of our implicit biases, to make sure we are really respecting and caring for all of the children. She also did a really good job framing herself, reintroducing herself to everybody in the district. I did not know that she's from South Carolina, but I am. She's from Orangeburg. I went to a historically Black university there, and she grew up in a very segregated small city. Experienced hardships and challenges, but really moved here and has been flourishing. So she brought that perspective. Something else that she mentioned that really caught my attention was that every day in the district there's an incidence of hate, every single day. So this is really needed, important work that I'm really grateful that Maryville is committed to. It is really important work. And something hopeful that she said that will be rolling out soon is that there's going to be a new curriculum for grades 4 and 5 coming out soon. For social studies, that's going to be more inclusive of lots of stories. About Indigenous groups' history and other groups' history. So that's going to be rolling out. So it sounds very exciting. And she also mentioned, I believe she's been getting some pushback why the emphasis on LGBTQ, with what's going on, this stuff. And she spoke about equity versus being just equal, and how if you have 2 children and one falls off a bicycle, you reach down and you help the child who's off the bicycle. That's the child that gets your attention. So we're galvanizing around the child who's fallen off the bicycle. You help the child who's hurt, but that doesn't mean that you're not thinking about caring for the other children too. So she's sort of framed any types of pushback around a particular focus that way. But she definitely stressed the importance of respecting all in terms of race, religion, LGBTQ status.
Any questions for Raya?
Thank you very much.
Acacia properly pointed out that I forgot to add the treasurer's update onto the agenda. So, Acacia, I'm going to call on you now to give a treasurer's update.
Okay. Hi, I have a look at my budget helper. My little 6-year-old. Say hi. Thank you. So this is an update for 2 months because we skipped the meeting for in April. So at the end of April, the bank balance was $22,912.38. We had $1,675.35 in outstanding checks. So our balance on hand at the end of the month was $21,237.03. PayPal balance was $4.85. So basically our income for those 2 months was $5,077.59, which was largely skate night and restaurant night, which also was the 4th grade extra fundraiser for the 4th grade field trip. And some movie night income, but the majority of that was restaurant night and skate night. Square had $76 in transactions, PayPal had 10, Member Hub processed 2,974.91. And our cost of goods sold for the 2 months was 1,187.83, which was mostly finally the Spirit Gear invoice and some movie night food. So I think we're all set. Amanda, can you verify that we're all set with the Spirit Gear? We're zeroed out for sure.
Yes, I can confirm. Yeah, and that I actually skipped over the Spirit Wear update. I can be part of it. The woman we do the Spirit Wear one, she had a bit of a family emergency, so there was an unusually long lag in terms of people ordering to get it. But we are back to 0. I did confirm on the app that everything's flat.
Okay.
So if you place a new order, you can still get it, but we're back to 0.
Absolutely. Okay. So our expenses for the months were $4,503.24. So those expenses were mostly, we did the family game night for 500. We had skate night, the cost of tickets that we had to write checks for, and the 4th grade field trip and after school clubs was the majority of that. Okay, so the notes about program. Book fairs finalized after those refunds. Cougar Cash stayed the same. Movie nights has a profit of $527.42 after covering the movie license annual fee, which is great. And then the school supply kits is remained the same, but we're coming into the next year with a good amount of inventory. So we'll work on that over the summer. And then the skate night profited $810.50, and Spirit Gear, we finally have a profit number on that of $575.37. The quarterly sales and use tax was filed. And next up for us is working on getting a better list from the teachers for the school supply kits so we can be accurate about building those and advertising those. Working on the budget for the summer and grant requests so that we can build that into next year. Those grant requests it'd be nice to have them now, but they can come in, before the September budget. They don't have to be part of the summer budget, depending on what it is. I mean, if it's for summer school, we're going to need that. If it's for something that's going to happen later in the year, it doesn't need to come in the next 2 weeks. So it kind of depends. And I do have maybe 3 or 4 that have come through. Ms. Polster wanted money again for the patrols, which she always uses, money for the instruments, 1,000, and then trying to think what the third one was. It's over here somewhere. I can send that list out of what I have so far, and I have not checked the mailbox to see if there are more in the last few days, but there may be more in the mailbox.
And yeah, so I can't remember because we didn't have an April meeting. The skate night, huge success. We raised $810. I think everyone had a ton of fun. I just last week entered us in the lottery again for next year. So let's see. The drawing is supposedly May 15th, so like next week. We'll know if we got the skating rink again, which I think overwhelmingly people would like to do. Now they understand how it works. It's very complicated. It's a lot of fun. So.
Yep. And then I'll be organizing a meeting to work on the summer budget and then a separate treasurers meeting to kind of get established there. So that's it for me.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Acacia? All right. All right, I know I'm conscious of time, but we still have fundraising updates, silent auction updates. Do you have any updates?
Yeah, so, for the past 2 restaurant nights, we earned $106 from the Maryvale. And then $149 from Nando's. And so far from the silent auction, we have 63 bids and we raised $1,480. And $55 from just the raffles. So that's, yeah.
Couple things. I was having on the same T-ball team as the vice president of the Maryvale PTA. highly recommends for next year, McDonald's on Pembroke Parkway. Talked to the franchise owner and they had a great restaurant night, raised $600. The owner gave out free ice cream cups to all the kids. It's McDonald's, she doesn't want to go to McDonald's, so she's like, it's the best restaurant night in town. So, but that, I'm sure, I asked her if you contact me like corporate, like, you know, Chipotle, like, corporate. She said, no, you just talk to the French.
Okay.
So,
And that does remind me, our next restaurant night is in June and it's Chipotle again, because
Okay.
they give us 30% back. So,
and then on the auction, so we talked a little bit at the end of the board meeting about logistics on spring fling. I think we're in a good place on that. I think we'll get, you know, vast number of bids, of course, on Saturday. Is there anything else you need us to do to spread the word, to advertise? I mean, we can do another email blast for sure on like Friday night, Saturday morning, or what would work?
yeah, I think another email blast, and I mean, I think just sharing it with people, we posted it in our neighborhood, because we have a lot of donate specific donations, so if you know of any donations that are like from a certain, like Twinbrook, I don't know if there's anyone in the Twinbrook neighborhood, but they have a pool membership. And so if anyone's in that neighborhood, they should share it to their neighborhood. Yeah, so that would be great, but I do think Saturday is definitely, but at least last year, like, it was a success. I do have one concern that, we need to figure out, and maybe she can help, but, for the auction this year, we're just doing online bidding. Last year we had it, we could write it down on paper sheets, but it was kind of a hassle to do that. And so I personally don't have a computer. I have a, you know, I don't want to lend that to the school. So, so I was thinking, and I don't know if this is something we could do, is have our children bring their Chromebooks and just have them available for people to use. I mean, obviously people hopefully can have their phones and bid through their phones, but are there a couple computers? I mean, I don't know, Rachel could probably bring hers, but are there a couple school computers we could possibly have set up?
Yeah, I can see it just a part of. We just have to put it all back there.
Probably just 2 or 3, because I think most people will do their phone.
Correct.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, and I think I know the answer to this, but I just want to clarify, because I think this is how, you know, nobody has to be the president to win, right?
But this one, correct.
It ends at 1 o'clock on Saturday regardless.
Yeah.
So, you know, there are people who won't be able to make it, but.
Yeah. This one is all online, so they just make sure that their bid is the highest one, and you can even do that on the auction, and you can like say this is the higher than the bid, so.
Okay.
And then. I'm just going to remind, I can't remember, what raffle? Yeah, so the raffle, I did send flyers home, or put flyers in the mailboxes today, so. Hopefully everyone will see that some of some options, and that is not, those aren't gonna be drawn until next week. So that one they can still, I think on the first flyer that I made or something, I said the raffle off and ends on Saturday, but that will go till next week, and it's all electronic. And that's all electronic. They can, and this, if you can help let the teachers know. So in the flyers that I made, and they can cut out tickets and put it in an envelope and bring some cash or a check to school. And if the teachers can just somehow get them into the PTA mailbox, or if you want to email us, or however it's easier. I don't want to make it difficult for you guys, but that's, if they can just get, if they do get any submissions that way, they can just end up in the PTA mailbox and we can get them that way.
Did you give them out already, like the baby coming tomorrow?
No,
No.
no, they did not get into the, yeah, I don't think anyone got their mailbox after 2, so it was after 2.
There's a summer camp in there worth like $300. There's a Ed Sheeran ticket.
Ed Sheeran, wow.
That- There's some good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
And I just added more. I know some of you guys have already placed your bids, but I came today and found some more that we missed. So there are, but now there's a total of 88, I think, items.
Silver Diner too, yeah.
No, I have not added Silver Diner, so I need to add that one too. Yeah.
Sandra, is it, so, I'm sorry, you just said you added one. If there's one more thing that I had something lined up that didn't come through to this last week, is it okay to still contact you, or we just let it go?
I mean, if it's a good one, sure, like, yeah, I mean, we've both been spending a lot of time on this, and there's still a lot of time that we're going to be spending on this in the
Sure.
coming week. So, I mean, if it's a great one, like, $20 or more, then sure, we could try to add it in.
Okay.
But, yeah.
Okay, I'll email you real quick.
Okay.
All right, I know we're over, so, the only other quick thing is International Night is happening. Friday, May 19th. Flyers should have gone in mailboxes yesterday, and emails, and what have you, yeah. I will not be there, so I'm just noting that for, I don't know.
I think I'll be there, but.
It's not like, I mean, he's got it under control, it's more just like,
Yeah.
it's scout camp weekend, I'm gonna be at the test that night. Are you going to the camp in Virginia?
No, I just go where I'm told.
The one where like it's all pre-planned activities with the.
Oh, no.
Okay, we're going to that one. So anyway, so I won't be there, but otherwise, I think we have covered other business with the budget. We've talked about that quite a bit. Are there any items for open forum?
I don't know if everyone was on when you were sort of hyping, playing.
Oh, yeah.
Hype it again.
So yeah, for anybody who wasn't on then, spring fling, Saturday, 11 to 1, bounce house, petting zoo, all of food trucks, lots of good stuff. So. And a reminder, if you have a pop-up tent, bring it, big cooler, nice.
Story time tomorrow.
Oh, yes, story time, as if there wasn't enough this week.
Yeah, the kindergarten are good, but I was anxious to.
Can you still take another one? I haven't actually asked him.
Yeah, I swapped for one.
Okay, I haven't asked.
Yeah, email me so I don't leave that.
Okay, yeah, awesome. All right, well, thank you, everyone. Any last thoughts before we leave? Congratulations to the new board.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.